Okay. Hopefully it's now streaming on YouTube and over on TikTok. I'm using 2 streaming platforms at the same time now, so I don't know how this is gonna go, but we shall see. It's terrible anywhere. I'm new at this, and every time I try to stream, I feel like your 70-year-old grandma, and my skill set says so. But we're kicking it off with some questions already, so you're gonna be seeing me look back and forth. And I apologize. It's just how it's gonna be. Okay, so what should I do if the current projects I'm working on at my full-time job are confidential? So that's a really good question. I think a lot of us designers face what is called kind of an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. And there's a few things that you can do. It really just depends on how strict your NDA is. A lot of times companies just don't want you showing future facing stuff. So if you've done something but it's not live in the product yet, then you can't really show it. But if it is live in the product, if it's already kind of in front of users for the most part, you can show it. The other thing that you can do if it's not something, that's super, uh, like, already in front of users, sorry. The other thing I'm thinking is that sometimes you can get away with kind of rebranding it, almost making it kind of, agnostic to any company. And then, of course, you can kind of state in your portfolio as to why that is. Because a portfolio is really about your process anyways, but the final kind of designs and things, and then you just have to be very careful that you don't include any specific metrics. I think for the most part, no company wants other companies knowing that you helped them increase conversion by 20%. So, that's always a tricky thing. But yeah, you can try to kind of make your designs agnostic to a company. Maybe you take out the logo, you switch up the colors. Sometimes companies are okay with that. The other one too, sometimes they are okay with it being password protected. They just don't want it open and outward to the public. So the best thing you can do is really just read your or kind of talk to your HR, read your NDA, and then get a better understanding of exactly what you can do, because it really does boil down to how strict that NDA was. But I do have a video on TikTok about that. It literally says NDA very big across the front. Um, so definitely have a look at that. There's just some kind of tips and tricks on how to work around including projects that are confidential. But yeah, it's a tricky one for sure. But sometimes, like, there are ways you can, and then you can still kind of have that case study in your portfolio. Joel says, "I can't design without seeing some inspiration." Why is that? Gotta get you in the mood to design. I mean, really, it's just, yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I always wanna go look at kind of what is going on, in the different spaces of design, like, what's going on with the latest products, just to kind of get an idea. Now, that being said, working at bigger corporate companies, especially if you have, like, a design system, I would say the inspiration is definitely more for when things aren't as fixed, if you're doing things more discovery or more innovation or more future facing, but if you're just kind of optimizing, I don't know that that inspiration is always like I mean, maybe that's like a buzzkill because you go look at all this amazing design and then you're like, "Oh, I gotta work on this, like, tooltip component." And, and that's a little bit of a buzzkill, but, I don't think it's a bad thing, especially to go out and just kinda get inspired and, um, you know, and then get to it. Let's see. So you've just got your UX design certificate and you're excited to get to work. Any advice for beginners? Yeah, go read my learning guide. That is that is my biggest tip, and that's I put it together specifically for people who are just starting out in their careers because, um, it's yeah. Basically, I put it together because I saw all the resources, like, not all of them, but I saw the slew of resources that are kind of existing in the space to help people learn UX and product design, and wow, it's confusing, and wow, it's just a lot. It's a lot. So I've kind of synthesized it down, from my perspective as, somebody who hires designers all the way up to lead level and even helping out hired, design directors and et cetera. Um, but it really just kind of outlines exactly what you do need to break into the industry. Of course, there's also some guidance in there on being able to orientate your skill set and what experience you're gathering along the way towards the jobs that you actually want. Because 'Cause you're not gonna land your dream job out the gate for the most part, that's very, very rare for anybody to do. So, as you gain the different experience through maybe the smaller companies, freelancing, consulting, whatever it may be, then, yeah, you can kind of just always kinda keep that dream job in the back of your mind, and I think I was just helping a designer out, actually, I was just, writing February's, email newsletter, which is also a push for you to sign up for my email newsletter, but this designer reached out to me, and it's actually one of my old students from when I was an adjunct professor way back in the day. Literally been, like, reflecting on that, I think it's been, like, 12 years. But, they reached out and they're like, "You know, I've tried freelancing. I really know that that's not the path for me because it's more there's so much more admin involved in it, and it's not as much creative. I figured I don't really wanna do just kind of graphic and web design, just crank out those types of different projects. I also thrive more in collaborative environments, et cetera, but I also feel like I'm getting, in my way with my self-doubts and all these different things, and, I think that's kind of the path that a lot of us designers take, right? It's like you try a little bit of this, you try a little bit of that, whether you try corporate or you try, I don't know, yeah, you try freelancing, you try agency, you try in-house agency, you try consulting, like, you try all these different paths that you can essentially go down as a designer. You figure out what you like and what you don't like, and, that is, that's just what happens, and every designer is different as well. Whether you chase the money and you just kinda do what's necessary to do that, or you, actually find kind of what you're most passionate about. Um, I just think that yeah, I mean, myself included, I started out as a developer, and honestly, that's where the money was in the beginning. Like, it was just like a land development, internship, like, way easier than I could design, even though my actual degree was like a 50-50 split between them, and, but then I was like, "Wow, I hate this." I hate development, and at the time, a big reason that I hated it was because I, uh I didn't like the designs that I was having to build. I thought that they were bad experiences, and I was like, "I can do this better. I know I can. I can serve up better design." So anyways, that's when I started to transition over to design, got away from coding completely, and then actually pushed myself all the way over to the other spectrum, which is, now I have pretty extensive kind of research, experience. So, yeah. Let's see. Just wanna check a couple settings before I move on to the next question. I see your next ones. Just 2 seconds. I wanna make sure everything's working. If you guys are over on YouTube, please let me know if the microphone is working because 'cause I'm seeing it move, but it's only showing 2 dots, and I just wanna make sure that I am being able to be heard. Because also this is the side that gets recorded as well, so we'll see. Oh, I just completely muted myself. That's not a good start, but okay. And then hopefully you guys over on TikTok can also hear me okay. So Jim is wondering, how do you think AI will affect the UX job market in the future? I do think it is going to transform it. I've spoke on this topic quite a few times now, which I think we are going to see a huge reduction, if not a complete elimination of UI specific roles, and we've already kind of been orientating towards that direction for quite a few years in the industry. That's why you see less UI specific designers, and you're seeing now within the last, like, 5 to 7 years, you see, like, product designers. We've moved away from, like, UI specific, information architecture specific, and, like, all these specificities. It's because there's just more expected of the role, and that's why you get things like product designer, which essentially does UX and UI, right? But that being said, I do think we're gonna see less of that because AI is gonna be able to handle a lot of that, and then at the same time, if you think about it, once again, we've been moving in that direction already with design systems. So if you are one of the many millions of designers, I'm sure, working on the big kind of utilitarian corporate e-commerce, whatever, and you're not just working on like a, you know, a a fun kind of artsy site, it means you're working in a design system, which, yeah, it's exactly what it is, a system in order to approach, different problems within the product interface. And that's gonna be automized for the most part. You're gonna be able to, instead of a designer creating, let's say, 15 variants of a single component or even a single page, AI is gonna be able to do that pretty easily. It's also going to mean that, um yeah, you don't think AI can replace UI, or the UX industry? Yeah, definitely it's not gonna replace us. I know that's the big tagline, especially last year, like, "Is AI gonna take our jobs?" And there's many industries worried about that, but it's particularly UX. But coding and stuff like that, we're not the way we have to design for products, and that those are products that have actually adopted, AI. I know we're like, "Oh, it's here, it's now, there's 500,000,000 tools happening." But anything like Amazon, the big pieces of Google, Facebook, everything, like, yes, they're incorporating it, but they're incorporating it slowly. There's actually no validation that truly AI-powered, like, products is actually what anybody wants just yet. Like, for the most part, unless you're in a niche market for it, for the big guys, the ones who make insane amounts of money, um, it's still a proof case. We're still kind of in a green field. But the way we design if the full adoption happens for AI and that there it and, it's proven that it can provide an immense value in the product space, which I do believe it can if done correctly, the way we design for products is gonna completely change. It means you are not just designing even for an archetype or a segment, it means that you're designing for the modularity of an interface to change per individual user. Every single person looking at a product that you design, page that you've designed in a product will look different. The content will change. It will be rewritten for their specificity and their contextualization and their to personalize it for them. And the images, maybe you have a set of 30, but either they'll be generated or they will be curated based off of what you know about that particular user, based off of the context in which they're kind of viewing your product in. So, yeah, again, the way we are gonna kind of be able to approach these different products is gonna be immensely different. Is it gonna happen tomorrow? No. Thankfully, we are gonna have time to onboard, but I've said it once, and I'll say it 1,000 times. Any designer who kind of is reluctant or against, adopting AI, not only within their processes, but also within learning how, to evolve what it means for how they design, and understand design, will get left behind. And that all that being said is that the role requirements and definitions will change. Um, so oh, I see you guys are, joining my email list, which I love. I love that. Thank you for joining. I shared one topic, which was a designer who's feeling kind of lost in their next career step, so I have some very practical advice on how to like, help you get unstuck, which I think it's everybody hits at least once in their career, kind of this, like, "What the heck am I gonna do next?" So, I've got some very practical steps on how to approach that. I even put together a guide, which I didn't know it was going to come to this, but it's a this or that guide, and, I'm actually pretty excited about it. I won't fill it out for myself, but, let me see. What were some of the questions? So, some of the questions were like, "Do you like high collaboration or do you like working more independently?" Let me pull it up so I can read it. Yeah. Do you like, perfectionism? Do you like to work on something and refine it and optimize it, or do you like, to iterate and just kind of learn as you go? So, that's another one. Do you like research and going kind of really detailed into the investigation before the design phase, like gathering those insights, or do you prefer diving, like, directly into, um, sorry, Oh my gosh, execution, like, straight into the design detail. Okay, some of you are asking where you can grab a link. Let me just drop it into the chat. Make your lives easier. Nice, cool. Sorry, I'm just again, I'm so new to this. Yeah, please join my email newsletter. That was, I'm putting together that guide, and I'm actually super excited about it. Couple more questions because I see there's a question on YouTube, and I'll just get there in a second. Yeah, do you like teaching, and sharing? So do you kinda like that coaching and mentorship? Or do you prefer to more are you in a position more that you wanna be learning from people more senior than you? Do you like public speaking, or do you like more work behind the scenes and kind of deliver, um, work kind of, not necessarily wanna say take credit for it or just kind of present, but you just wanna, like, do the work, but not actually have to kind of showcase it necessarily. So anyways, I think there's a list. I think I ended up with roughly 25 questions of this or that. Yeah, it's all to kinda help you figure out what you actually enjoy. I think it's easy for us to be like, "Oop, tried that, hate that." But this is really to help you figure out what the, next step is in your career that in the circumstances, the preferences that you have that actually brings you happiness to work in. So and then you can kind of use that criteria then to look for positions that offer those different preferences, so, okay. So, we got a question over here, da, da, da. Okay, the ecosystem is sending people my way, I like that. I wanna know more about how data science is intertwined with UI UX. Can you give me a little brief overview of UI UX research if you have any? Um, I mean, data science is absolutely integral to UI and UX. I'm just gonna say UX because let's just keep it simple. But yeah, it's absolutely, absolutely integral because, um, basically yeah, how do I wanna say this? You have qualitative and quantitative research, and data science is essentially the quantitative side of that research. So if you're looking at things and looking into numbers like, conversion metrics or click-through rates and all these different things, which there's many, many, many success criteria for different design solutions a lot of the times, but then there's also things you need to look for, in terms of metrics that you might harm. Right? You don't wanna increase conversion by 100 yeah, sorry, let's say, like, 20%, but then also increase your contact rate by 30% because you're actually losing the company money, which that's never what we wanna do. So, data science is absolutely integral. I can't think of a project that I was on last that didn't start with a huge data science dig ahead of any UX project to see what was working, what was not working. So a data science dig into the actual current product itself, as well as a qualitative, um, research insight. So qualitative, 'cause you're asking, like, is there a research kind of overview? There's a few different sides of research. You have the quantitative, which is like I said, just the metrics, and then you have the qualitative, which is more like research. Sorry, research. Competitive research, market research. You also have, I think A/B testing. Yeah, that even falls more in kind of the data science, quantitative side. You have contextual inquiries depending on, yeah, kind of what you're working with. I did a contextual inquiry with when we were working more with partners, and then I saw the whole kind of, journey through from partner into kind of customer side. And then you have things like diary studies. I've also conducted those over chat, which was really interesting. Like, "Hey, saw you just, make a presentation. Like, tell me how that experience was." They signed up for it. I wasn't just being creepy. But, yeah, those are the kind of things so those are kind of like, I would say discovery research, but then you get to validation research, and I think this is more the kind that you actually see when you associate it with UX, which is validating design solutions. So that's just usability testing. Sometimes if it's more information architecture based, then you get things like tree testing or card sorting. Then, what else do you get? Drop them in the chat if you can think. Like, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. But yeah, usability testing is pretty big. You can even do a quantitative A/B testing as well. Impression testing, that's always another one. It just depends on the design solution and how complex it is. But I would say bar none, usability testing is the biggest kind of UX validation. So I remember, I worked on a team and, the researchers at the time were being so, like, purely utilized for like, UX validation, which I thought was absolutely insane. So, as the lead over that project, I was like, "We're gonna free up your time. We're gonna upskill the designers to be able to validate their own solutions, and then you'll free up your time to actually do things that might influence priorities." Um, so that was a long rant, but that's how I see the kind of the role of data science being intertwined with UX massively, especially without you guys, without the data scientists, we'd have to get in those dashboards ourselves. I've been there. It's not a good time. It's just really not a good time. So, I'm glad people like you exist that actually, you know, uh, like numbers and like data in that way, so you can synthesize it down for us, especially when you come out with, like, a top tier recommendation as to, like, "Hey, this is going really bad for a lot of people on our site, like, we need to look into this." And that's where the designer takes that on. It's like, "Okay, let's investigate a little bit further and come up with a better experience." Okay, move on to the next question. Let me just make sure nothing's blowing up. Oh, yeah, I just see somebody it could be somebody on this call, it could be not, but somebody joined my UX objectives workshop, so I actually want to share that with you guys really quickly. Pre-plan I should have, but, it just made me think of it now, so I'm a good designer, I'm a bad, marketer, but I'm doing this UX objective workshop actually, no, I guess it's Monday now, so it's, not too far off. But it's to help kind of designers figure out what they want to do and how they wanna set themselves up for success in 2025. So depending on if you just wanna focus on Q1 or whatever you actually wanna focus on, I'm gonna show you. 2 seconds. Okay. We're gonna do it again, I'm using 2 platforms. Let's see if my computer just explodes. I don't know, we might it might. Oh, I see I literally see 2 things okay. Anyways, yeah, so this is a UX, objective workshop that I'm planning, and, essentially, I've been advising people on how to structure their objectives for so long now, and, I know what it is yeah, 'cause I put a video out on, like, why objectives are super important, I think a few weeks ago, and there's a huge positive kind of, feedback to that. So if you wanna improve your ability about how you kind of articulate your value and impact of your actual design work, which is a lot harder than it sounds, unfortunately. Um, and you wanna be able to kind of share that with your manager or other stakeholders, and this is kind of, like, why I'm doing this session, so you can be able to kind of have a template, figure out the do's and don'ts of a well-written objectives, um, and then also just the opportunity to connect with other designers who might have the same goal. But why this is super, super important is because of promotions. The way that you do this can make or break your career progression promotion-wise, but also, the, uh yeah, the, ability for you to get salary bumps, you know, 'cause again, it's all about being able to showcase your kind of value, as a designer. A lot of times, especially in big tech, probably most importantly in big tech, I've never had to do it more than until I joined big tech. But yeah, if you guys wanna join that or just, like, read a little bit more about it, I'm gonna share the link in the chat. Um, and then you can look at it if you want, you can join it if you want, and then that's cool too. I have to share it twice. That's what we're doing now. Okay, cool. Let's go on to the next question. Mm. Nice. Do you think okay, do you think it's worth getting into UX design as a junior designer if any companies hire? So basically, like, yeah, are any companies hiring junior positions right now? Straight up, it's super rough. Like, even for experienced designers right now, the market is tough. And, there's just no way around it. Like, if you can ride it out, you can pick up freelance gigs, you can kind of afford in your life situation to not have to make, uh lots and lots of money at the start or have the best role at the start and kinda just work your way up very, very slowly, then it can really, really, really pay. It absolutely can, but it is not easy right now. And even kind of senior positions are, still getting flooded with applicants, hundreds of applicants, per kind of request. I think genuinely, if I just, like I'm constantly on LinkedIn now, but, if I see somebody they just share an open position over on LinkedIn, they have to close it within the next day. They're like, "Okay, applicants accepting applicants is now closed," and, that's just the reality 'cause there's such an influx of people looking for positions that, it really almost doesn't matter your role position, like how high up you are, myself included as a principal designer, which is the highest level IC you could pretty much be in this entire industry. And, it's still scary. It's just, like, budgets are being cut, like, less, money is being oriented towards that, so and again, like, if you're not somebody who needs to be like, "I need to make a full-time kinda income, like, immediately out the gate," you might have to relax, and then again, it can really pay off because this in this career, it can be extremely flexible, it can be extremely lucrative, it can be super creative, so there's, like, a lot of pros, but right now, it is it and it's gonna take probably quite a bit more time than it would've, you know, pre-pandemic, essentially. And well, I guess and then pre-pandemic as well. Yeah. Um, okay, let me see the next question. Mm, that is due about so you're doing some projects for fun, and of course, they're not backed by numbers. Yeah, so what I wanted to say is that I think what you're saying is maybe your kind of case studies aren't backed by numbers, so that's chill. But yeah, just be careful about too many specifics. Even like, 'cause we're back on like the NDA subject, just anything specific. Number of just like how big your team actually was, any budgets that were allocated, like, just companies don't like any of those specifics there for the most part. But, yeah, I mean, the safest bet, bar none, is always to kinda just check with your HR, person if you can, so okay. Okay, can you tell us about why you became a UX designer, and how long have you been a UX designer? Guess. To everybody, take a guess and be very nice about how long you think I've been a UX designer, and while you do that, I will make sure that nobody's burning down the house. Mm. How long do you think I've been in the design industry? Keep in mind, I did do development for, a little while, so maybe it's less than you think, maybe it's a lot more. And don't cheat if you read it somewhere, because I definitely have it posted. But yeah, take a guess. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure that here we go. Okay. So I have been, oh. You took it. Okay, but you gave your honest answer as well. So, I mean, like, that's okay too. 6 to 7 years, nice. So 2025, I am actually in my, um technically, let me just calculate it 'cause I'm 11. Like, technically, doing, like, any design, even any design projects, I'm in, like, my 14th year. I typically say just, like, over 10, but more officially, like, I graduated from uni, but the thing I graduated from uni in 2013, but I started doing freelance projects, my first year of uni, which was 2010. So somewhere around 14, 15 years, it's not, like, technical, but anyways, if forever. But I did start as a developer, and, yeah, like I said, I just yeah, it was not for me. I did not like doing development. I didn't like developing shitty designs. It's really what it boiled down to, and so what I wanted and of course, I didn't have any experience doing actual design or any design kind of worthwhile, so that's why I started freelancing to gain that experience to do more design. I start either nothing or the absolute bare minimum, um, uh, to just kind of mom and pop companies kind of around the town that I, uh, was living in at the time and kind of offered my services. Like, I think a fewer cold emails, I would just, yeah, kind of hit people up and be like, "Hey, I just saw your website. I see that you're trying to do this." I would make some recommendations and then kind of give a reason that they might work with me, and then that worked a few times, as well as just kind of recommendations from other people on like, "Oh, this one person wants a website or an app," or something like that. So that's kinda how I gained my design experience. Then to the point where my network this is, pump for making sure that you have a strong network. Um, uh, from one of my old classmates, he was working at a design agency I really, really, really wanted to work for, but I wanted to work as a designer. But I still had more development experience than I did designer. I ended up coming in as an interactive designer, I think was my title at the time. I did both. I was what they called back in the day a unicorn. Um, thank God I didn't end up with the title of a ninja. That was real. I remember seeing job listings, design ninja. Crazy times. Anyways, so yeah, then I worked in an agency, and then typical agency life, you just go through a bunch of different projects. I was working on a solo photographer, one day, and then I was working on a big machine operation company the next day, so that was kinda super cool. Then I did pursue my master's degree in Georgia, and, the TLDR of that is that I drove across the country. I was in Georgia for 3 months. It took me about 3 months to realize that the curriculum that they're offering, even having partnered with Google at the time, was still, 70% of the curriculum was not gonna provide me any value in the real industry, and I knew that because I'd already been in the industry. So I'm literally in class, like, updating people about, you know, yeah, Apple key the most recent Apple keynote feature releases, the latest technology that Google is coming out with, and I was like, "I don't what am I paying for?" So anyways, did a lot of breaking down of what that kind of master's degree would actually offer me, and then it didn't prove to be valuable enough, especially back in the States where school is basically unaffordable and puts you into chronic debt. So but my master's degree pursuit was not over. I moved back for a little while, and I worked for where did I work? Oh, an in-house agency. So this time I was working for a healthcare company, but it was like an internal agency. So all we did was take in client requests from, like, our very large organization from different departments and stuff like that, and did that for a while, and then I wanted to pursue my master's degree over in Manchester in the UK, and, I was gonna do that 'cause their curriculum everything was just way better, and I really just thought I needed this master's degree. I really did. I was really locked into this idea for years and years and years. Thought it would really benefit me, but then I ended up getting the job that were at the company that I currently work at, and, basically what it boiled down to is I was put in such a good position in the company that it was very clear to me that the value that I was getting out of the experience I was getting was, again, more valuable than the paper education that I would have gotten. Like, I could have worked with some real clients that, the school would have facilitated and some of these other things, but I was already doing it, I was already, like, doing what I was, like, wanted to be doing, and the full circle moment was really that, I ended up being that school that I would have gotten my master's degree in ended up doing a kind of internship program with the company that I worked at, so I kind of pseudo ended up educating people, like, that I would have been, if that makes sense, in the same position of. Um, so yeah, that's my full, kind of how I got to where I am now, and then I moved up in the company that I am in. I've been promoted, I think 5 times now over the 7 years that I've been here. I started out just as a core designer, moved up to senior, then to lead. Um, I did do a little bit of management, I think a stint in management for, like, 8 months, but that was also, uh, like, cross-discipline as well, so I managed developers and content writers and designers. No designers. No, yeah, 1 designer. But then I was a lead, over a team, over 10 teams actually, but I think we had 8 designers. And then finally I was promoted to principal, which is my current role, so now my day-to-day is much more strategic, I work with a lot of directors and the kind of C-suite of the company, all that good stuff, so that's my full journey. Did I say yeah. Is there anything no, that's my whole life story. My whole UX life story. Um, but the reason I became a UX designer, if I wanna go back to that, funnily enough, is that the actual inception of doing, like, digital design happened when I was, like, 12-ish on MySpace. I was, like, the go-to person for my friends customizing their profiles, right? And I remember my friend Grant, he wanted a camo background, which now we're getting to, like, where this is, like, where I grew up. But he really wanted a camo background on his MySpace profile. You do inline CSS and HTML and kind of all these other things to customize, give custom cursors and all these different things, and, yeah, it's just that's kind of where the inception happened, and then the real kind of nail in the coffin where I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing," is I took an InDesign course. Let me know if you know what InDesign is. Is it even still around? I don't know. I would think so for print. I would think so. But, um, yeah, I took this InDesign course in high school, loved it, over the moon about it. So, just creating oh, it was I can still kind of remember what it like my like, final project looked like. It was bad. But, you know, it was still really interesting. And, yeah, but I just fell in love with kind of the idea of digital design, and then I just kind of had to look within my local area as to um, what kind of schools and stuff were kind of offering that type of program, and the Art Institute at the time it was very, like, new to be offering any kind of human-centered or user-centric any sort of thinking. At the time, it was called Web Design and Interactive Media. That is literally what's on my Bachelor's of Science degree, computer science, Bachelor of Science. So, yeah, MySpace and InDesign is, like, why I got into, becoming a UX designer. I didn't really like, again, I think a lot of designers similar to a lot of designers, I didn't really know what the full scope of, like, UX design would really be, like, how problem solving it was, how much research, how much, like, presentation is needed, how much kind of like, I don't know, like, delegating deliberating skills are needed, communications, all that stuff. I had no idea. I thought I was just gonna be making pretty pictures for, and kind of, like, cool products and things for that people, just really kind of enjoyed. But it turned out to be a lot more than I bargained for, but I just got lucky enough that I actually really enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge, especially of, like, pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, um, and then and then getting good at whatever that thing is. Paul is saying InDesign is for creating magazines and books. Yeah, but Paul, is it still around? Like, is that still, like, the primo program that people use to design those things, or has something else come up? I feel like they capitalized on the industry, and it's probably just been the same forever. Okay, let me see. Okay, so the next question is, how can you determine that you're a senior product designer? So that's a really good question. Let me actually you're not the first to ask this, surprisingly, and I taken some time to articulate exactly kind of like and again, I always have to caveat this with the fact that there's no industry standard on exactly what makes up a senior versus a junior versus whatever, but generally let's take a look. I kind of distilled it down into most part what you can expect, like, broadly of a senior role versus a junior versus whatever. Let me just make sure you guys can see stuff. Yeah, nice. TikTok? Are we getting with it? It's a little bit slower, but I think you can see. So sorry, I need to get back to it. Um, so these are yeah, again, very generally, and then this is actually a full article that kind of breaks it down a little bit more, but this is really what it boils down to, which is this kind of graph. And as a junior, no, let's just, let's not talk about junior. Let's talk about mid. So, as a mid designer, you're definitely driving the visual design. You're not really relying on anybody else to kind of craft that design for you. Don't have a lot of support doing it. You're also probably creating design systems, but you can see the difference here is that the senior is then leading the visual design, either with pure autonomy or they're actually overseeing it with the support of, let's say, a mid designer to junior designer. Research also for the most part, in most roles, you would be driving the research, and this doesn't mean you're necessarily executing all research, but you are executing the necessity for the research. So you're ensuring that the research actually takes place, whether that is validation research or discovery research. Your design process and kind of what's included in that, you can see that it goes from very basic, you maybe know the very basic steps of kind of the design process, or you know how to employ a few different methodologies, to a mid should know a little bit more than that, have a bit more methodology in their methodologies included in their toolkit, but a senior should be real big. It should be able to pretty much apply like, tackle any problem that comes up in a variety of different ways, and that being said, it should be whatever best way is needed, right? It's like, "Oh, does this project need a, um, do we need to do some stakeholder interviews, or does it really need us to do a competitive analysis?" Or whatever, like, they have experience or knowledge doing those things, and they can kind of pull it out of their hat as and when needed. Communication skills, exceptional. If you're a senior designer, your communication skills should be very high. Every single time you do a design crit, it should be very well executed and very well delivered to the point like, once you get to a senior, you should be able to kind of educate lower level designers on most all of these things, yeah? Stakeholder management should also be very high. You should be able to take in different types of feedback from different types of stakeholders and be able to manage that. Your business knowledge, at the least, should be a medium, which is essentially, yeah, what are the company goals? What are metrics? What is the business impact that your design solutions have? How to prioritize your work in general. If, like, somebody's coming at you and here's, like, 50 requests by and then tell us how much time it's gonna take. You should be able to look at those 50 requests and kind of break it all down in there's various different frameworks and methodologies to do this, but you should be able to do that. Also, with your time management, kinda goes hand in hand if you can prioritize your work based off of different variables and characteristics, your time management should be the same. And then your scope in terms of how much of the product you can actually tackle should be very large. For the most part, junior designers probably work on, a few pages, maybe like a happy path kind of situation. Medium oh, sorry, mid designers working a little bit broader than that, maybe on full flows. But then a senior designer should basically be able to design any single full product, like, altogether. Strategic influence should be medium. At the point that you're a senior, you should be able to, discuss and influence what is on the backlog and roadmap, and, and then also influence it with your findings, with your kind of visionary designs, pushing it forward, getting things onto the, roadmap or backlog, and then that kind of goes hand in hand with product impact, which is not only that your design solutions are of high quality in terms of design, but also they actually have an impact on users as well, and then you're helping the business achieve, whatever impact they're kind of setting out to have. So Yeah, I highly recommend you guys follow me on Medium for this. It's just yeah, straight up, it's just UX survival guide. I have a bunch of articles more we AI topic has come up tonight as well, so how to use it effectively in your design process. Upping your skills around product strategy and communication massively, super important. How to set yourself apart, getting into management, bunch of good stuff in here. So if you guys wanna go follow me, maybe I'll help you by dropping a link, I guess, maybe. Why not, you know? Nice. Hey, Oscar, welcome. Glad you're able to pop in. Okay, we're back to InDesign. Yeah. So yeah, still industry standard for the most part. I believe I believe it. Okay. Let me see. Okay, next question. What would you say deceptive patterns are? Do you have any examples of that companies that ap that yeah, that applies to companies that do deceptive patterns? Oh, yeah, massively. Massively. Deceptive patterns, also referred to as dark patterns. So over here in the EU, it jumped to nice. Yeah, cool. Sorry, dark patterns. Yeah, a lot of companies were doing them. Ri Actually, so Paul's saying Ryanair. I would say the biggest kind of companies that do deceptive dark patterns are airlines. They not only do they offer just absolutely terrible user experiences, but they try to sneak in those fees, sneak in those, like, agreements and everythings which are absolutely deceptive and dark patterns. Over here in the EU, though, they have put, quite a few are they legislations? Things in place, requirements across kind of the European Union where companies have to audit for dark patterns and, they have to comply with not doing dark patterns to a degree. And yeah, so examples would be, like I said, kind of not disclosing fees, not making it clear within the user experience on, like, what is actually being paid. I think especially airlines, like, it's like, "Oh, here's your full price, like, upfront, here's what you'll pay," but then they nickel and dime you with, like, each individual bag. "Oh, and now you want a seat? Do you wanna sit on this airline? Okay, here's another fee." Like, oh, it's, yeah. EasyJet is my, like I'm sure Ryanair also um, went bankrupt, didn't they? Was that the one that went bankrupt? Pretty sure, which is funny. They're do they're doing that kinda stuff and then go bankrupt, but yeah, EasyJet's pretty bad. I think a lot of airlines are just, hold a lot of those dark patterns, but, um, there are, a lot of ones that, uh, yeah, I know had to be taken down was the fact that, like, "Only one left," "Only one," but lying about it, just to kind of create that scarcity feeling, but not have this actual scarcity. So, yeah, I know that's a dark pattern that's, like, actually illegal in the EU. There's a few other ones, but, I can't think of any companies that I could jump to right now unless I were to, like, book a flight. That's pretty much a guarantee you'd find some pretty bad patterns on there, but yeah, the thing is, though, they work. Like, they're very effective. Like I said, the kind of the scarcity one, yeah, it pushes a lot of people to make reservations to book things. So that's why companies are using them, but that's also why we need kind of laws and things in place to ensure that we don't just put people in a stress panic mode anytime they go to do anything. Otherwise, that's probably what the internet would become because it's yeah, it's a pretty effective tactic. And when used in the correct way and truthfully, it's actually really good. It's, like, it's very effective, like, a big one I know of is, like, Eventmaster or Ticketmaster or one of those kind of ticketing platforms. Like, genuinely, I will not be able to buy a ticket. If they're telling me, like, "We're gonna reserve this ticket for the next 6, 7 minutes," And that is, like, the time crunch, it does create stress, whatever, it does create those kind of bad feelings, I guess, but then at the same time, it's like, it's kind of needed because you could miss out. Like, you're actually telling me the information I need to know in order to ensure to make the decision whether I'm willing to miss out or not in your users, in that way, so, yeah. Okay, we have some, Felicia has some questions. Okay. If you just finished your UX certificate and you currently work in marketing, but the feedback you have gotten on your portfolio means that you need to make changes, should I still talk to the UX department at the tech startup tech company that I work for? My biggest goal is to pivot over from being a graphic designer and marketing department to a working full time in the product department. Love that. Love an internal kind of like, utilizing, like, what already exists within your company to kind of pivot and shift. That is such a good way to transition versus trying to, like, find an external position where it could be more difficult. I would say, for the most part, a certificate is not going to be sufficient for you to start even at a junior kind of tech, like, role. That being said, every company is gonna be very, very different, and their kind of willingness to educate you, and allow you to grow is going to vary. So, what I would highly recommend, and that's because I've helped people transition through different types of roles, is work with somebody on that side. I don't know if you have a manager. If you're at a tech student, like, yeah. But I would work with somebody from the UX department and say, "Hey, I'm really interested in doing this. And find a way to balance your time while you still deliver everything on the marketing graphic design side, and you still, like, can make sure your actual day-to-day job is fully complete, but then try to get yourself involved in the projects that are already going on over there." And I was just talking about my objectives, kind of workshop that I'm running in a few days. But what I would literally do is kind of carve out my objectives. Okay, deliver everything that the marketing department needs, whatever those kind of goals and things are. Then my last objective would be personal development into UX, and then, sorting out some projects and working with maybe some of the managers over there. I don't know what type of roles you have, how big the company is, but work with them to get yourself in on a project. And doing even the most menial type of work or shadowing. Again, trying to find, like, what they're willing to do, but shadowing is probably one of the most valuable things that you can do. Be in those design presentations, getting kind of that experience, and then work your way into being a little bit more hands-on if you can. 'Cause I wouldn't even like, if those people are willing to do that, if your company is also willing to allot you that time, that 10%, that 20% of your 100% or whatever extra, um, use it to your full advantage. Because otherwise, if you weren't in a company that would allow you to do that, I'd be sitting here recommending that you go find some, freelance projects to be working on UX, but, like, no. Find your way into that UX department. So, absolutely, you should go talk to them. Don't go talk to them and be like, "I wanna do UX, can I start doing UX now?" But, like, what can I do with, 10, 20% of your time? But you also need to ensure that everybody feels very secure that you're getting what they've hired you for, like, done as well. But yeah, I hope that helps, and actually really excited for you. 'Cause, I just hope that you're, like, in a position and a setup where they're open to kinda work with you on that. Because yeah, that is not only a lot of the times the easiest way to transition, but it's also, like, the best way because you already have, experienced people kind of surrounding you to just learn off of and grow from, which is, yeah, super nice, super cool. So, yeah. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, you're welcome, Felicia. Thanks for the question. Cool. Um, yeah, let me know if you guys have any more questions. I might stay on for a little bit longer. Just kind of rambling on if I want to, if I'm feeling it. I was gonna mention the other, because I was talking about my email newsletter earlier, and what was the other topic that I was working on? Because it was the career transition and the this or that guide that I was creating. But what was the other, let me see. My memory is so bad. It's like literally working on it today and I can't remember. This is why you have to have a lot of structure. If your memory is bad, you have to have a lot of structure. Oh, yes, dealing with low UX maturity in your org. Yeah, that's a big one. Something I am not, um, unfamiliar with. So, yeah, just a very practical application on, like, how to approach your stakeholders, how to, then kind of, take a very, like, practical application, like stakeholder interviews, figure out the pain points, identify the ways of working and what's actually working and what's not, and then being able to make proposal, et cetera. So, yeah, I was working on that article as well. That should be posted not this Sunday, but the next Sunday. So, whether you're, yeah, kind of career pivoting or working on those, I definitely recommend. I'm sorry. Arshita, if I'm saying that correctly. I love that you just pop in, you're like, "My portfolio is not attractive." Would you be willing to share your portfolio link so we can all look at it together? I mean, if you're just straight up saying it's not attractive, like like you're well aware of what's going on, so yeah, and then we can all either agree with you or disagree with you, and we can look at it right now if you want. But the fact that you just popped in there and you said my portfolio is not attractive, pretty great. But you are a UX and UI designer with 2 years of experience looking for a good opportunity. So, also a question while you're getting your link to your portfolio, are you in a current opportunity or are you just, like, you're currently, unemployed and then, like, actively trying to find a good opportunity, or are you just kinda, like, browsing around? Let me know. That makes a big difference on the urgency and how much we have to push. Unemployed. Okay, fair enough. Sorry. The question of how do I get a job in the field? I have a design background and I'm good with computers. Saying you're good with computers makes me think you're not good with computers. That just gives me I think that gives me the ick. I just also, uh, anybody who says, "How do I get a job in the field?" and it's not something more specific, makes me think you're also not trying hard enough. Like, you don't know enough to ask the right questions, so you gotta no, I really am. How are you good at computers? Like, if my hard drive fries, can you replace it? Is like that what we're talking about? Or can you restart my computer? Like, I'm not trying to rag on you, but, like, if you're okay, your IT department. Hey, look, no, because my depart anytime I've gone to IT, they are the sassiest SOBs I've ever met in my life, and they actively do not want you to like, to help you, and they I don't know, I feel like IT people, at least my interactions with them, is that they're a little bit holier than thou. You know, like, a little bit like, "You're completely relying on me, and you have to wait in line. Please take a number, and I'll think about getting back to you." That's that's the vibes I get from an IT department. T If your experience is different, like, more power to you. Okay, okay. Alright. We can give them a credit because they know all the creative cloud software. You know all of the creative cloud software. You know you're like a power user of, like, Bridge and InDesign, and, like like, there's some obscure after you equally know After Effects and Photoshop, also Figma. Okay, we're being realistic, the top 7. Okay, okay, we're being good. But then you've also built a computer from scratch. Okay, hands up, you are good with computers. If you can build one from scratch, you get to say that. Otherwise but, like, in a design you being able to build a computer and then saying you're good with, um, uh, but, like, wondering how you get a job in this field, like, those just don't go hand in hand. It doesn't matter if you build a computer or not. Like, yeah, you could use Figma. Photoshop's irrelevant at this point. Um, so, you know. Yeah. After Effects is hard to learn. I agree. So, yeah, if you can be yeah, even efficient with Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign. I will say I got pretty proficient in Illustrator there for a bit, but, it's rough. They're so similar, yet so extremely different, and they definitely take, like, different skill sets um, to really catch on. Yeah. Okay. You also come from an architecture background. Diverse. You're a diverse human, but absolutely utilize that. A lot of the fundamental you probably already know this, but yeah. Yeah. Yeah, design yeah. This dude's gonna write a whole page of diary after look, he's gotta prove his creds to me. You come out here saying you're good with computers to a crowd of product designers? Bruh. Yeah. Nice. I'm here for it. Signed, sealed, delivered. I'll sign the diary. Yeah, but architecture is super cool. I actually I find myself very, very often comparing, like, product design, UX design to fundamentals of architecture, making, like, parables between the 2. So, that's a really good background to transition from and into. Um, okay, I got a couple more questions, and I'll stop roasting you about being being good at computers. You've proven yourself. I'll take my back seat. It's all good. You can build a computer, that's chill, that's cool. But just maybe, you know, don't put it on your resume for product design roles and positions, just saying. What's the best way to showcase your portfolio by personal website? Behance, anything else? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there now, right? I've seen people just actively use Figma and then just use, like, a prototype link. I think earlier on in your career, depending on your level, you can sometimes get away with, like, the Behances, you know, the Figmas, the kind of just the free essentially the free versions of kind of portfolio websites, no specific domain usage. There's gotta be more than that than those 2. If this is what I think it is. Uh, yeah, Naz, I see you, and I did. Got your message. I love that that's the point you came in on, though, so stick around. We have lots of insights, but it's also been an hour in, so we're getting a lot more candid and comfortable and roasting people who are good at computers. Oh, man, you used Adobe XD, would you recommend over Figma? Actually, let's take a poll right now. Sorry, I'll get back to the question about the Behance thing. Sorry, I got a little off track. But have you used, Adobe XD? Yeah, what? Yeah, so Adobe XD, I think you can even publish, like, portfolios and stuff like that as well. Is anybody using XD anymore though? Because, like, the hype was really big, like, 2 years ago. My company doesn't use it. We have a commercial agreement with Figma or whatever, but, um, is anybody that's watching right now using XD? 'Cause I feel like it's just not, um it's just I'm not hearing about it, so I assume it's kind of, like, gone off the wayside, and Figma is still very, 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 very actively talked about, so if anybody is, let me know. Yeah. Oh, you use Figma as a graphic designer. You use Illustrator surely as well, though? Like, surely. You think no one is using XD? RI RIP Adobe XD. Wow, really had to say that one out loud to realize that it rhymed. Yeah, yeah. Honestly, though, yeah. Oh, you know who does, who, like, tracks this stuff? I think, Tommy, like, Tom the designer, he's a huge creator. He does a survey about kind of, like, toolkits and stuff as well. Hey, Umar, nice, you joined, and you found YouTube. Cool. Yeah, okay, okay. Felicia, graphic designer. You do use Photoshop, yeah, a bit of Illustrator. You're mostly oh, that's so interesting. I wouldn't like it makes sense, but I work with a lot of illustrators and yeah, like, full stop, they work purely in Illustrator. The illustrators work in Illustrator. Um, you know what though? After yeah, in After Effects. Animators working in After Effects, so but yeah, I haven't seen any graphic design I guess if you're just yeah, you're kind of creating what are you creating? Are you creating website graphics? Now I'm, like, super interested, and I'm very off track, but, like, what type of graphics are you creating in Figma? Super curious now. 'Cause, like, yeah, obviously, like, it can do a lot, but just to me, it's always been Illustrator for a little bit more elaborate stuff. Maybe you're pulling in assets from Photoshop and Illustrator and just, like, placing them within kind of the Figma templates, yeah. Yeah, your creative director prefers it because oh, yeah, of course, the collaborative aspect, which Adobe has just not adopted at all. Okay, social graphics and assets. Yeah, 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 of course. Actually, that being said, all of the assets that I create for um, all of my content creation is done in Figma. Like, what am I saying? I'm literally making graphic design, like, in Figma as well. So but yeah, the collaborative aspect of Figma is just such a game changer. Sketch was this close. Was this close. I don't think, anybody's using Sketch. Is Sketch, like, completely dead as well? Yeah. Um, let's see. I'm as old as Adobe Dreamweaver. Same. Absolutely use Dreamweaver. I don't yeah, I didn't really want to admit that, but, here we are, I guess. So yeah, if you're in the Dreamweaver club, like, give a shout. Okay, I wanna get back to this question. Yeah, portfolio okay, so, yeah, getting away with portfolios being hosted on Behance and some of these other things, but do not let me just say this, because a lot of people just, like, they look at Behance and they see that it's just images. You just, throw up some images of your final, like, designs and stuff like that. There are good and bad portfolios on Behance just like there is everywhere else, and the fact that people kind of often assume that, "Oh, Behance is just for visuals, so I'm gonna slap up some of my designs and some nice device frames and then call it a day." Not sufficient. Not sufficient. Your portfolio really, 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 really needs to showcase your design thinking process and the process you went through the entire kind of project. It is not sufficient just to have kind of mock-ups of your finalized designs. Even if you throw in some wireframes and stuff, you need to include a lot more, like it's not voiceover, but description about your project. Essentially, the good portfolios that are fully hosted special websites, you should be able to, like, replicate that as closely as possible kind of on your Behance. That being said, you can take a jump step, and it does look more professional, more experienced to have, an actual domain, like, website, which easily can be provided on Squarespace, Wix, Framer, Webflow. I mean, there's a lot of kind of sites, no code sites kind of offering portfolio, worthy templates and stuff that you can use. I will say it's more expensive, hands down, not cheap, especially and that really sucks when you're, like, not even working yet, but that being said, you can't really get away from how kind of professional it looks, and, so you can take a jump step. If you're absolutely beginning, you have the means to do that, great, but it won't necessarily be, like, shunned upon if you do a Behance or something like that, but yeah, I like Squarespace, but it's super restrictive, but that's fine. Like, for the most part, you can make a really solid portfolio on there still. Webflow I've absolutely used. It's definitely more devy. You still don't necessarily have to code, and they have a lot of templates that you can just, like, start out with, which is super nice, but I am absolutely loving Framer right now. So, it's like a very good in between of Figma and Webflow, but it is like it's like building a website that's ready to code, has a domain name in Figma. Like, very similar controls, very similar layout, everything, so, um, yeah, so forget the question. Oh, yeah, best way to showcase your portfolio, your personal website. Keep in mind, though, you need 2 portfolios. Everybody, remember 2 portfolios. Um, the first one, which is that domain website you can link to and people can read through it, that's for recruiters and at a quick glance hiring managers. The second one is an in-depth case study or 2, along with a little bit more, detail about you and your skill set, etcetera. That's for the interview. You always need 2 portfolios. Just wanted to clear that up. We talk about portfolios, there's 2 kinds, and you need both. Okay. Yeah, Framer is great for showcasing your work. It's just expensive. That's all. It costs money, at the end of the day. So it just depends on I also Notion, you can host your work in Notion as well, and, that's okay. There's some good, portfolio templates and stuff like that that you can go download out there. Cargo is good too. I haven't heard of that, but yeah, if you're looking, definitely looking at everything and then decide on, like, what best meets your needs. The fact that I've built a website in Squarespace and Webflow and Framer. Google Slide for the second portfolio, yes, the presentation portfolio, but um, not the outward facing portfolio for the most part. Felicia, you're asking about UX portfolio? I feel like I've heard that name. Yeah, fast and easy UX portfolio building. I think there's a lot of these. There's a lot of these types of websites. First glance, it looks great. Again, I don't know what their pricing is. We can all look at it together. Why don't we do that? This is the first time I'm doing a live where I can actually screen, so I'm usually just, like before I was just turning my phone around. Okay, let's all take a look. I was just viewing the pricing page. So, okay, 1 portfolio, 1 case study. Ooh, limited. Pros and cons with everything, right? But I bet you if you typed in other sites like UX Portfolio, you'd come up with quite the list. So, yeah, it really depends. Like, weigh the price options, weigh the feature options, how customized do you want it to be versus how templated, how quickly do you need it, therefore, how much time do you wanna be spending on it? Yeah, I mean, first glance, this looks pretty alright, so I think it could definitely be an option for sure. Screen sharing, I'm going back. Black screen, camera went out. Is it back? Are we good? Like, maybe it was just when I was screen sharing? Let me know if we're down. If we're down and out. Yes, we're back. I hope that yes is that we're back, that we're good. Um, okay, did you see the screen that I was sharing now? Well, my friend is also texting me. It's on right now. Well, okay, but you have the I'll link what I was just looking at just in case you guys didn't see it. Apparently the screen sharing and jumping, like, in and out is, yeah. Dude, I never said I was good with computers. You won't find that on anything I would ever say, ever. So, um okay. You guys didn't get to see okay, well, you have the link, for what I was just looking at, go check it out. Like I said, again, probably lots of different options on there. So, yeah, it's all about weighing the pros and cons of it, 'cause some are way over-engineered for what most people would need. However, if you're trying to look and customize a lot of content creators are sharing a lot of animations and customized kind of things. If that's your dream and that's your goal, you're probably gonna need to pay for it, especially if you don't know coding. So, yeah, that's just the reality of kind of portfolio and portfolio building and all that good stuff. I know I missed a few questions over here. Um, okay, for all of you asking questions about, like, what are the next steps after portfolio, what's the certificate or course, what course is best, please just go download my learning guide. I'll link it because it literally takes you through kind of step by step, not just through the portfolio building, but then the next steps, after that about kind of building a network. Um, by the way, I'm gonna share my screen again. We're gonna take a risk and see if this works, but let's do this together, hopefully. Yeah, we'll see if it went black screen. We'll see what happens. I'm seeing it not be black screen on TikTok at least, so hopefully that's the case. Hopefully we're all alive and okay. Anyways, what I was saying though is that in my learning guide, which is here on my website, it talks about learning the fundamentals, so kind of put a list together of all the different things that you need to understand and know, in order to kind of break into UX. But then also what it covers is kind of building a community, how to practice your design skills, which is absolutely so key. Let me just make sure I'm not okay. Um, practice your design skills, like how to, balance your theory versus practice, creating portfolio-worthy projects, and then also kind of, talking about your resume. Your portfolio is actually the last thing that you should be doing as you're trying to become a designer, but there's many other things that you should be doing when it comes to kind of building out your network community, not just of people you kind of are inspired by, but also peers. That's super, super big. So, anyways, I'm gonna go grab that. I will link it. See what happens. Does the portfolio outweigh a resume? For designers, yes, it is so crucial. Like, will you get hired without a portfolio as a designer? No. Could you get hired as a designer without a resume? Maybe. But you absolutely, 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 no question, need both, especially in today, um, the way that companies are hiring, they're using bar none, they're using a lot of the automatic, like, AI even to kind of sift through resumes to find ones that even are worthy of being then the portfolio kind of looked at afterwards. So, yeah, all of the kind of, like, automatic portfolio reading that's going on, you gotta, like, get past that. You gotta find a way to not bypass it, but get through that, and then that's usually when your portfolio gets viewed. Because yeah, bar none, I think resumes are still read first before portfolio, and then, not just by machines, but also by any actual human hiring. But the weight of a good portfolio versus a bad portfolio is gonna be much heavier than the weight of a bad resume versus a good resume. I will say that much. 'Cause, like, generally, this is what happens. If I'm reading somebody's resume and it's like, I can't really like, "Ooh, I don't really know, like, really get a good sense of their work or, like, their true impact," boom, go to portfolio. So it's like, there's the leniency there, right? It's not an immediate shut off for a resume. It's almost always a looking at the portfolio because I go try to find the information there versus, kind of yes or no on the portfolio. Oh, sorry, resume. Um, nice. Okay, let me just check. Let me just check. Both chats. Yes, cool. You guys over on TikTok, let me know if you have any questions because YouTube has them right now. Let's see. Um, can you please tell me a bit more about the 2 types of a portfolio? So one is to be attached when applying, and the second when presenting it to a company. Um, attached might be a strong word. Um, but that being said, I've absolutely seen PDF, portfolios, so, like, maybe I'm getting a little bit hung up on the word attached. But yes, okay, 2 types of portfolios. Number 1, this portfolio, your public facing portfolio is for recruiters and, kind of hiring managers, but mostly recruiters because the line of defense for most any hiring process is recruiters who know absolutely nothing about design, usually, and then the hiring manager who created the job description that the recruiter is then looking for. But the recruiter only, um, is like they're buzzing. They're looking for keywords, they're looking for very specific things to then get you past the first gate and say, "Hey, hiring manager," this is the recruiter, "Hey, hiring manager, I think this person meets all the requirements that you've listed out that I need to find." So your audience is, like, essentially different. You have a different audience for the first public-facing portfolio, and this is a very exclusive, like, if you're doing freelancing, contracting, and other types of portfolios, this isn't relevant for that. I'm assuming it's the first because that's what most everybody is doing. Um, so yeah, you have to get past that recruiter, so you kinda have to kind of curate that portfolio in mind that they are scanning through looking for key terms and things to know that you meet the criteria. Then you have the hiring manager who then looks at your portfolio to see if they wanna have that initial interview. So then, yeah, you kind of need to think about your case studies in such a way that it really shows off your design thinking and your experience, and your case studies are very much curated to the roles that you're applying for. And that once again, that hiring manager can go there and say, "Yes, this person very likely has the experience that I need," like, at a high level, again, because it does not need to be very detailed. Now, the second portfolio is after you've gotten the interview. So the first one you link to usually is just, like, included in the application form or it's linked on your resume. The second one is not a publicly facing one for the most part, and it is a in-depth walkthrough of 1 or 2 case studies that really, really exemplify your experience towards that role description. Um, yeah, this is where you can kind of templatize it a little bit. What I would be doing these days is my public facing one doesn't get that's just hopefully it's a little bit of a catch-all. But then the second one is like, now I'm curating my voiceover and potentially the case study 1 or 2 that I'm choosing based off of the role that I'm applying for that I think best shows off, like, how good my skill set is for that criteria. So the second one is usually, like, Figma slides, Google slides, something like that. Never ever oh my gosh, I'm just thinking about the last time this happened. Never ever use your first portfolio in the interview. So never go through a situation where you go to your website and you start scrolling down your case study. Just never a good idea. Again, the audiences are different, the level of depth you go into should be different. Um, and yeah, that's, that's just that's just how it be. So, those are the 2 portfolios you have. I do have a I think I covered all the points, but just in case, I do have a TikTok video that it's been a minute though. It's been a minute on 2 portfolios. Let me see if I can find it because 'cause I'm gonna link it just in case I didn't cover something or I'm forgetting something. My video will be well more thought out. Okay. Mm, please hold. Please hold. Man, my thumbnails were way more confusing. I found the NDA video, which we were talking about a long time ago. Man, now I have a little bit of a feeling of when I'm like, "Go find this video that I did." I'll actually oh, wait. Yes, found it. Okay. Just like especially if I was doing this just on my phone. But I'm gonna link this, um, over here. So if you guys wanna know a little bit more about the portfolio situation, go check out that video for sure. Okay. I have a question from Umar, nice. I'm into the 4th interview round for a senior brand designer position for a remote job. This round is team fit check, as mentioned by HR. What should I expect is 45 to 60 minutes. Yep. Round 1 is with recruiter. Yep. Round 2, hiring manager. Yep. Round 3 is design assignment. Yep. And now we're in round 4. Yep. Cool. So a team fit and again, I don't take anything that I say with an absolute like any absolutes whatsoever, just because every company is a little bit different. But they just wanna they wanna check your vibe. That's what it is. They wanna make sure that you're kind of a cultural fit, and this some companies actually rather than it's like cultural fit. Do you fit the kind of characteristics, the personality, and somebody that they actually want to work side by side with? So a lot of the times that yeah, a lot of the times it's with the design manager, so it might be from the same people who did the, R2, or it is from people who working directly with that team, whether or not they've spoken with people directly from that team or not. The yeah, the team fit is a vibe check. As sim in its simplest so they're gonna be asking you questions about, okay, sorry, just make sure I have the whole okay, it's the whole brand design team that would be on the panel, so I didn't even read that, but yeah, exactly. So it's the people that are gonna be working with this person. That's insane. I remember my my interview where I did this. It was in person though, and it was literally I think it wasn't the whole team, but it was 8 people, and we sat in a circle, and I got grilled. Um, so that was fun. Yeah, it was flashback. But that being said, that's what it is. So you can expect questions like, "What's your way of working? What would you say kind of your, um" Yeah, like, how do you like to work? Do you like to be a bit more collaborative? Do you like to kind of go away, make a proposal, come back? You know, it's gonna be questions about how you operate. I would just advise your friend as much as possible to try to figure out how they operate and already or how that team operates already, and then, try to make sure that, uh, the similarities kind of are highlighted in such a way, but again, yeah, that's probably why your friend hasn't been asked to kind of prep anything or do anything like that. I will say, though, I will say, just to caveat this a little bit, sometimes those, okay, so it's the design manager, illustrator, brand manager, and then a video production guy. Wow, it's really okay. Well, if they're a brand designer, yeah, so they're probably gonna be working with all of those people, right? Um, and they wanna figure out if they wanna work with your friend. But what I will say wholeheartedly is I've been in a lot of these interviews, whether leading them or not, and sometimes they go back into previous topics. So it could be the, "Tell me about a time this scenario happened, this kind of stakeholder situation happened, or this type of pivot or disruption or deadline or timeline happened." It's gonna be a lot of those types of stories to see how you handle yourself in those situations. Tell your friend if they have backing to that, even if their portfolio they've already presented, keep it in their back pocket. Be ready. Um, and then also, I saw a good TikTok. Again, please check out my reposted TikToks because they're gold, okay? It's things where I'm like, "Yes, absolutely agree." So, but there was a good one on there that was like, "Have 3 ready," which is one where you had a strategic kind of influence where you had a yeah, a difficult client situation. The other one was, something about I can't remember the last one, but, for a designer, maybe it's like an insane deadline turnaround or something. As stated before, this will be a team fit interview, however, the team has reviewed your project brief. Mm, yes, so there may be some conversation about that. Exactly. You were typing it before I said it. I know my no, but exactly. So if these people this is what happens. These people haven't necessarily been able to, be a part of the previous interview, but they've looked at your materials and they're dealing with questions and questions that may have already been answered in the previous session. I've actually had this happen, even I'm guilty myself, and I'm sorry these people had to repeat themselves, but because I didn't know if it was answered in the last one, I'm like, "This is crucial, I need to know this. Tell me about X," and they're like, "Oh, yeah, that came up in the last interview, let me show you," and then they pulled up their portfolio again, and it's like, yeah, that's just how it be, you know? So, yeah, definitely have it ready. Like, be like, that's the thing is, like, I would if I didn't know better, I would be very much surprised if, "Oh, I talked about that part of my portfolio, like, just the other day to other people, but you're asking me the same thing." It's like, it just happens. I mean, you can literally spend this next, team fit vibe check one, and it you end up talking about the exact same things again. That's just kind of the reality. But yeah, that's kind of what, yeah, your friend can expect from the team fit. It's a little bit of a vibe check, checking your characteristic. I've always stood by the fact that even to this day, your personality and how you come off, like your vibe, whatever, will almost always get you hired before your skill set. That's not to say you don't need both or anything like that, but being an introverted person and being not super I don't know, friendly, social, whatever the words you wanna use are, earlier in my career, just because I was, just, whatever. Um, it had an impact. So, yeah, I very much learned how quickly your personality gets you hired. It's yeah, over your skill set. So if you come in there and you're like, "Yes, I can't wait. I'm, passionate. This company is doing that, and I really align with that," and you come in not exactly like that. That's a little broy, um, but then another person comes in and they're like, "Yeah, I really need a job. Just got fired from my position, so I'm just kind of desperate." What person you gonna work with? Wanna work with? If their skills are matched, which right now, a lot of skills and experience are equal across the board, they're looking for other criteria to differentiate you. So, let your personality, your individuality really shine in these interviews as much as possible. Don't go overboard, don't push them away, but at the same time, you know, like, um aw, thank you so much. My heart I can heart. Thanks, Umar. So, I'm glad. I hope your friend fingers so crossed for your friend. I hope they really make it through that last round. It is exhausting. Can we all just agree that going through the interview process for large companies is absolutely exhausting? It's exhausting for me, and I'm usually a part of, 1 or 2 pieces of it, but y'all out there doing it for multiple companies, multiple interviews. I'm hearing about Google and Spotify and some of these other people doing, 6 to 8 interviews. At that point, they should be paying you for your time. It's getting ridiculous, but yeah. Okay, I'll probably only do a few more questions, so if you guys have burning questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I've been comfortably sitting on this for, 2 hours. So this is super nice, and I'm glad you guys were able to find the YouTube link. I do usually do it over, exclusively on TikTok, and I can already tell that doing it through a streaming platform sorry, this is not gonna be relevant for you guys, I'll tell you anyways. Doing it through a streaming platform does not push it the same way that doing it directly on TikTok does. So, I'm learning, I'm figuring it out, but still, it's been a great chat. He said it's the last round, and I'm not even sure dude. No one really knows anything for certain. I don't know myself, I'm trying different things until we, find the right solution, we're iterating, we're optimizing, it's true to the design, process. Okay, let's see, I saw a question come in here somewhere. Okay. Okay. Skylar's been, applying to a bunch of positions, but have only gotten, 2 interviews. Do you do portfolio checks, open to being publicly roasted? See, I had somebody tell me I shouldn't say, roasted because it's too, harsh. But, it's a roast. I tell you the good, I tell you the bad. But yes, absolutely, to answer your questions, I have started doing a series. If you wanna get a taster, it's my last TikTok video. Is it? No, maybe not. Hang on. You'll find it. It's the last couple of my TikTok videos. It says something like, "Will this portfolio land an interview?" Which is perfect for your situation if you're struggling to kind of land an interview. But yeah, definitely go check that out. I've started a series where I do live roastings of portfolios, and if they will pass and to get the interview, in my opinion, as a manager, if you go to my website, which is here, you will see that what link? 1, 2, 3, 4 the 4th link on that front page, you can submit your portfolio on there. So, if you wanna do that, do it. You gotta fill out a couple questions so I know what you're looking for. But, yeah, that's it. Just because we have a few more people on here right now, I just wanna remind everybody, or tell you for the first time, depending on if you've been here or not. I'm doing an objective literally it's on Monday. It's next week. Pretty sure it's on Monday. But I'm super just because I know and I've seen the impact that, like, properly articulated objectives can have for not only well, actually, it's actually the time of year where maybe some of you are discussing this with your managers, but not only kind of salary increases, but also potential promotions. Um, it's just it's such a key element, and I've been doing this for quite a few years now, and I've then been mentoring and coaching other people to set up their objectives. My favorite part actually about this little kind of framework thing that I've set up is that it very clearly helps you articulate what you're doing outside of your role expectations. So if you have the role requirements and you're doing XYZ, great. But then it's like, but then I'm also taking, you know, J on and, just and getting that agreement upfront, that, "Hey, if I do X project outside of my kind of normal, do we agree that that's going above and beyond or exceeding," or kind of whatever verbiage your company uses. But that's so key. Now I'm thinking about, I was just mentoring a lead designer. Their Roastfolio. Yeah, let me say that 3 times fast. Roastfolio, like, in my, like, hook of my video. Oh, good. So, anyways, I was mentoring a lead designer, just last week, and they were shocked. They were just absolutely shocked that, like they're like, "I did all this stuff. I documented all of my impact," and they kind of listed off all the things. I was like, "Ooh, my screen's gone dark again." It's YouTube now, though, that you're telling me on YouTube, so I'm gonna stop sharing since it's story time anyways. Thank you for letting me know. Yep. Stop, stop. Right. Hopefully we're back. Sip of water. Hopefully it'll catch up. Okay. Even if it's black, hopefully you can still hear me. Um, anyways, yeah, mentoring the lead designer, and they were super shocked, like proper shocked that they did not get a kind of above and beyond recognition from their manager at the end of the year, and which is like they were listing everything out to me, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness." Like, per the criteria, you should absolutely be kind of marked as above and beyond. But, depending on this always depends on your manager, and yeah, if you have a good manager, that this isn't probably something you're running into, so, like, fingers crossed for you on that. However, like I said, the objectives thing is super important because you get that upfront agreement with your manager or stakeholders. If you don't have a manager, this also applies to, like, who would be responsible for giving you a salary bump or promotion. All of it applies. But, getting that upfront agreement to say, "Look, I'm doing 1, 2, but I'm also doing 4. Do we agree that number 4 is going to contribute?" Like, maybe they can't say, "Oh, absolutely, you get, 20% salary increase if you do number 4." That's not what I'm saying because that's never the case. Depending on the setup. But what you can say is that it will absolutely contribute to it. Like, yes, we both agree this is going above and beyond, because one of 2 things happens. Your manager says, "No, that's totally within the role requirements, like, yeah, it's not extra work, it won't contribute to anything." You'd be like, "Cool, that's not something I'm doing. I'm not giving extra time to do this on top of my day-to-day. I'm already full up with the other stuff. You're saying it's not above and beyond, then it is, then I'm not taking it on. I'm not taking on the extra work." So it kind of empowers you to do that. Or you get that upfront agreement and your manager says, "Yep, that would contribute, that would absolutely benefit your position to be, for a salary, promotion, whatever," and then you can reference back to it. So by the end of the year or whatever, whenever you get kind of evaluated, you can say, "We had this agreement, I followed through, here's the impact of the thing that I did, bada bing, bada boom." It just puts you in a way better position to have those kinds of conversations. It gives structure, it basically gives, um, like, receipts. It gives you receipts to reference. So, yeah, definitely something to consider. If you're interested in kind of checking it out, it's there. There's a link in the chat. I'd definitely like you to come. I'm gonna promote it one more time, before the end of the week, but yeah, I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited about designers interested to join in it as well, 'cause it might not seem super valuable in the beginning, but it definitely is, and it's contributed to me getting promoted 5 times, so I'm definitely a proof case for it. Anyways, um, that's almost 2 hours in. I'm gonna end it. I can feel it in my voice now. So thank you guys so much for all of the questions and everything. It was super, super interesting. Thank you for the guy who's good at computers letting me roast them a little bit and not just going off. Very much appreciated. But yeah, super good questions. Thank you guys for joining, and I'm doing these 2 times a month. So follow my YouTube channel, however that works. Get notified. I don't know. I don't know YouTube. I don't know YouTube Lives. But whatever you gotta do, 2 times a month. But also if you're signed up for my newsletter, you know that already. Once again, there's, you know, uh, fine. So, yeah, 2 times a month doing these AMAs. Bring your questions, come hang out with other designers, super fun. So, yeah, thanks for all the questions, and I'll see you guys on the next one.